Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the book Refuge and welcome to my June TBR. Yes, I do create these pretty early in the month and that is because that's just how it works for me. That's what we do. I plan things extremely far ahead of time. But I'm very excited about the lineup for June. It is quite the list. It is a very long list. But y'all know around here I read between 50 to 70 books. So I used to be someone who like barely made a TBR at all. And then I've been someone who makes a TBR and doesn't read any of them. But I found my sweet spot of picking as many romances that I'm excited about as possible, as well as books that I buddy read with people. And it just makes the months go by really good for me. So let's go ahead and dive into this. I have this split up in kind of like groups. I'm going to go over the arcs that I'm planning to read, the buddy reads I'm planning to do, new releases coming out that I want to read, Kindle owned TBR, my TBR tin prompts, and then any other books that I want to try to get to. So yeah, let's go ahead and do this. So first off, I was recently very proud of myself because I had my NetGalley percentage up to 82% and I only had 5 books unread. And then NetGalley decided to approve everything. I also wrote a query letter to Berkeley to try to get approved for a couple books that I really wanted, and they sent them both to me, which I wasn't expecting. And so that added it. And then I just had a bunch of stuff all happen at once. So I have 14 arcs now that I need to get to. But most of them are for June, July, and August. So I'm going to space them out. And those of you who I've shared this with before, I always try to start an arc every Sunday. It's what I do. Like during church or in the morning before church, I start an arc. And I usually can finish it that day or the next day. And so this month I'm like, okay, well, let's actively plan like which ones I'm going to try to get to. Of course, sometimes that changes because I am still a mood reader and sometimes I'll pick something different, but let's see how we can do with that. So the 5 arcs that I want to try to read in June are John Eyre by Mimi Matthews. This is one that I just saw pop up and I actually got auto approved for it, which was really cool. And this is a retelling of Jane Eyre, but it is gender swapped. So we have John Eyre. And then this time we have Bertha Rochester, who, if you don't know, Bertha is the name of like Rochester's wife in the attic in the original, but she is widowed, I believe. Who knows? I don't know anything. And she has 2 sons who need a tutor. So that's kind of the difference in this story. So I don't know any more about that. I'm hoping this is pretty steamy. I don't know. I've never read anything by Mimi Matthews. I just saw the premise and I grabbed it and then I got auto approved. So I'm going to try to read this one. Then I have An Extraordinary Lord by Anna Harrington. This one I got approved for on both Edelweiss and NetGalley because I wasn't expecting to get it. I haven't read the first book in this series, so I'm going to try to read that one first because I do own that one and it's on Anyplay. So I'm going to try to read that before I read this one, but if not, I want to try to read this one. I don't know anything about this one. It just looked cool and I've heard good things about Anna Harrington, so I grabbed it. Then I have The Princess Stakes by Emily Howard. Now, if you've been around a while or you follow historical romance, you know that this book used to be called The Duke's Princess Bride, and it was supposed to come out over a year ago, and I've actually already read it when it was The Duke's Princess Bride and rated it and gave it 5 stars. There were some issues that arose about how some terms were used in this book and how people felt. I don't know the full argument, right? You guys know, you know about me. I usually stay out of that stuff just because it's not that it's not important. It's not that I don't support people when they have these things come up. It's just that I don't want my channel to go into those issues. I feel like Twitter and Instagram are the place for that. My channel is just me gushing about books. I very rarely go into the drama. I loved The Duke's Princess Bride. It is in Own Voices. Our author, Emily Howard, is like of the race that our heroine was, but there were apparently just some issues with how it was. I don't know what they are. So when I saw this book renamed and re-available for ARCs, I decided to grab it. I actually still have the original on my Kindle, right? Like I still have the original file for The Duke's Princess Bride. Now, I don't plan to compare them side by side, but given that I read this book a long time ago, I want to see if A, I remember it, and B, if I see the differences. So I really loved the story when I read it. I loved the hero. It was a second chance romance. She escapes from when her father is killed, and then I think it's her cousin who wants to make her marry him and then be in power. And when she was young, she had like a failed relationship with this young lord. Well, now he is a duke, and he has a shipping company, and the ship that she escapes on with her maid is owned by him. So now she is on his ship, and he has a lot of anger about how their relationship ended back then. So I'm going to try it again and see if I notice the differences and if I still think it's 5 stars and how I feel about it. But I'm kind of excited to do that. We'll see what happens. Then I have A Duke in Time by Jana McGregor. This one was one that I was asked if I wanted to read, and I said yes. So I got the e-arc widget from NetGalley for. I haven't read a Jana McGregor before, but I own a lot of her books. And I think this one is part of a new series. Again, I don't know what it's about, but it looks pretty and I want to try it. And then there is Someone to Cherish by Mary Balog. This is part of the Westcott series. I've been reading the Westcott series for many years at this point. I actually haven't read the book that's right before this one, but I own it. So, and it's on Anyplay. So I'm going to try to read that one before I read Someone to Cherish, because Someone to Cherish, I believe, is about he was previously the heir, and then when it found out that his family was all bastards, he joined the army, and then he was injured, and so he's been recuperating during the past few books. So I'm excited for his love story finally. All right, then I have, let's do the new releases next. So these are the 5 books that are coming out either in the last week of May or in the beginning of June that I want to try to read. Which some of them that come out in May, I may read them in May, but they weren't on my TBR last month, so I'm putting them on this one. So there is A Touch of Malice by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the next book in the Hades and Persephone series. This one, oh gosh, I love this series. Like it has its ups and downs, but I think it's so good and it makes me so happy. And I'm super pumped to see what happens next. Like, so excited. I actually pre-ordered like a pretty copy of this one, so I'm excited. Then there is Fearless Like Us by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is book, 10 in this series? Okay, and I debated putting this on here because there have been a lot of ups and downs in this series, and this is an MFM, polyamorous relationship, and I'm not a big fan of MFM. I would prefer the Swords to Cross if I'm going to read that. But I'm just like, I'm committed. I've read so many books by Krista and Becca Ritchie, and I enjoy them. I just think that this series has gone on too long, and this series is going to have 13 books in it because it's going to be about even more characters later on. I don't know. I just can't let go. I'm going to see if Fearless Like Us is the last straw, because when I read Wild Like Us, I gave that book like 3 stars, and I was really frustrated with how it drug on. But we got to a certain point at the end of the last one, and I want to see what happens. So I'm gonna try it, and we'll see how I feel about it. But I put it on my TBR because I just want to know, and we'll see if I keep going. Then Filthy Hot by Serena Ackroyd. This comes out, and I'm going to read it so fast. This will be book 5 in the Filthy Feckers series, or the 5 Point Mafia series by Serena Ackroyd. I've loved every book in this series, and I can't wait to read more. I'm dying for it. Then there is Real by Kennedy Ryan. I want to try to read a Kennedy Ryan right when it comes out so that I don't hear a bunch of people's opinions about it and either get too hyped for it or be too intimidated by it, because that's how my relationship with Kennedy Ryan has been so far. A lot of my friends love her, so I'm always really intimidated by the book when I read it, and then if I don't like it, I feel like I just need to shut up about it, and if I do like it, well, everybody else already likes it, so there's nothing special about you liking it. So when Real comes out, I want to try to read it as soon as it comes out and then see how I feel about it that way. Does that make sense? That's my plan. Because with Kennedy Ryan, I mean, she has a pretty high batting average with me. Like, there's only a couple that haven't worked, but there's still some that I feel like are more hyped than what I actually feel about them. But I can't really form my own opinion because everybody else already has. Then finally, the last new release that I am putting on this list anyway, there's others, is The Bully by Sophie Lark. This will be book 3 in the Kingmaker series. I'm gone for Sophie Lark by this point, okay? By the time this book comes out, I plan to have read all of her backlist. I cannot wait for Dean and his love interest story. I won't say who his love interest is in case you haven't read the first 2 in this. But I'm pumped. And Sophie Lark, I've had some interactions with her mostly on like TikTok and Instagram at this point, and I think she is such a sweet woman, and I'm so freaking excited for more. Like, I'm freaking excited. So, can't wait for this. All right, let's talk about the buddy reads that we want to do. So, first up, let's get it out of the way. As I do on Friday, or Thursday maybe, I put up the question on my community page asking you guys to give me book recommendations. You guys always do a great job with this. I get some books that I've heard of and some that I haven't. And the way that I do this is that I keep it open. Well, I keep it open because I don't shut it off, but I write down all of the entries you guys give me for the first 24 hours. And then I put all of those on a spinner wheel and then I spin it. I spin it off camera, because once the book gets picked, I look up the book to make sure it is one that I feel like I will read and that I want us to do a buddy read for. In general, there hasn't ever been one where I'm like, I don't want to do, but I still like, I don't do it live with you guys because I want to make sure that it's one that I want us all to read together. So I will go ahead and put the spinner up here. I did record it and you'll see what comes up. Ta-da! I don't know how many seconds that took. But we ended up picking Unveiled by Courtney Milan, which I was so happy about that because I've had this on my TBR off and on for the last couple months because ever since I read, hold on, it's right here. Ever since I read Unveiled, which is the second book in this series, I've wanted to read this one. And it just hasn't happened. And so someone put this as a choice and I was like, yay, this will be a great time for me to get to this one. So this book says, Ash Turner has waited a lifetime to seek revenge on the man who ruined his family, and now the time for justice has arrived. At Parford Manor, he intends to take his place as the rightful heir to the dukedom and settle an old score with the current duke once and for all. But instead, he finds himself drawn to a tempting beauty who has the power to undo all his dreams of vengeance. Lady Margaret knows she should despise the man who's stolen her fortune and her father's legacy, the man she's been ordered to spy on in the guise of a nurse. Yet the more she learns about the new duke, the less she can resist his smoldering appeal. Soon Margaret and Ash find themselves torn between old loyalties and the tantalizing promise of pleasure. So I've only read Unveiled is the only other Courtney Milan I've read, Unclaimed. And it meant so much to me. So I've seen Ash and Margaret in that book a little bit, and I'm very excited to read this one. So this is going to be the channel buddy read. If you're new to this channel, I have a Discord. It is always linked down below. And there is a section in that Discord that is about the buddy reads. And so what happens is I make a channel for the buddy read, and you're welcome to talk about it whenever you end up reading it. There's a way to do spoiler tags. And I just love seeing what you guys think. And last month we did Ruthless People, and it was a really great experience talking about it. So this is the one that got picked. Thank you everybody who put in an entry. I mean, if yours didn't get picked, just remember, I mean, every month you'll be able to put it in there and we'll see if it gets picked. So I'm gonna read this book in June finally. I'm very excited. Then some other buddy reads I'm doing is the Rake Appreciation Society. I'm going to be doing Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. The Rake Appreciation Society is a historical romance book club that I do with my best book bestie, Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life, and it's hosted on her channel. And we did After Midnight in May, and we're going to be doing Indigo, which is actually Crystal's favorite historical romance like ever, she said, like, which is amazing to me. I'm very excited. I have the audiobook. I got it when it was on sale on Audible, so I got it for only $5. And this book, the original, is out of print, but you can buy the self-published, because Beverly Jenkins self-publishes this one now, on Amazon. It is about $16. It's kind of expensive, but I just had to own a physical copy of it, and someday maybe I'll find an Indigo out in the wild. Who knows? But this will also be my first Beverly Jenkins, and I can't wait to read it and talk with you guys. The live show for this one, I think, is the 3rd week in June, because the 2nd week in June we have something going on. So I'll put up the live show card for you here, and I can't wait. And then I every month try to ask a couple of my bookish friends to do a buddy read with me. I am waiting to hear back from one of my friends, but Averie from Averie Loves Books got back to me, and we're going to be reading If Ever I Should Love You by Kathy Maxwell. This is the first in the Spinster Heiresses, and I'm very excited. I have not read a Kathy Maxwell yet, and I'm definitely excited to read this one. This one says, he's inherited a title but not a penny to speak of, so the Earl of Rochdale knows he must find a wife, preferably one tolerably pretty and good-tempered, but definitely wealthy, and who will exchange her fortune for his family name. His choice, Leonie Charnock, one of the seasoned spinster heiresses. Years before, the Earl had saved the dark-eyed beauty's reputation, and she is still breathtakingly lovely, leading Lockdale to hope that their marriage will be more than in name only. However, Leonie doesn't want to be anyone's wife. Nearly destroyed by the secrets in her past, Leonie agrees to their union with one condition, that there will be a wedding but no bedding. But it's a condition the new Countess of Rockdale isn't sure she can keep. I love that. So, very excited. I have this one on AnyPlay as well, so very excited to read this with Averie. Okay, so those are the buddy reads. Now I will share with you the 5 Kindle books that I decided to read. So I think I've shared I know I've shared it before. I made a list of all of the Kindle books that I have purchased, so not my KU books. And I try to read some of them every month, even though, yes, I buy more than 5 every month, but it's just a way to kind of get to the ones that are like further in my backlist on there without having to have a Kindle clear out, because we know that when I have Kindle clear out, I usually just end up purchasing instead of reading. So I picked 5 to try. So not all of these do I actually know what they're about, because at this point I just have their titles and names, but here are the 5 that I ended up picking. Because the way I wrote it down is I wrote the name and the title and then what the trope was. So I kind of picked them by trope, basically. So I have Storm the Castle by Jolie Vines. I believe this is a modern day Scottish one, and I don't know what it's about, but we're going to try it. Then there is The Chimera Affair by Kira Andrews. I know this is male, and I think this is like a Secret Service. Someone is moving something outside, don't mind that. I think this is a Secret Service or a undercover thing, not sure, but I know it's male, and I like Kira Andrews, so it'll be fun. 4 Psychos by Christy Cunnings. I believe that this is a like ghost romance, and I was told from my friend that like she is a ghost in this house where these 4 psychos are, and she's slowly being like manifested into a human. I don't know how this works, but it's a reverse harem, and lately I've been reading some of those, so I'm going to give this one a try. Light Up the Night by Weston Parker. I believe this is a firefighter romance, and Weston Parker is a male author, a romance author, and I've been trying to find more male romance authors because I like reading their perspective sometimes, because men are the other half of a romance sometimes, so I want to try it. And then The School Mistress by Tess Thompson. This is one that I got for free on Amazon, and I just loved how it looked, and I think it's kind of like a Jane Eyre, like gothic. I don't know how steamy it will be, but it's a historical, and I love buying the free historicals and then I never read them. So those are the 5 Kindle owned books. All right, now we get to the fun, and I have my prompts from my TBR tin. So I no longer like pull these out of the tin live, but here's my cute little tin. And these are prompts that I got back in like November. I got all these prompts and put them in a little tin, and then I pull them out. And the reason I pull them out is that some of them involve me asking people for recommendations, and I need to do that before I film the video. So I did pull one of such cards, and I got Ask Jessica for a recommendation. And that Jessica would be Jessica from Peace Love Books. I'm sure y'all know who she is, the queen of romance booktube. And so I asked her for a recommendation, and she was so sweet. She was like, oh my gosh, the pressure. Because her and I don't have perfectly aligned tastes. Like, we do in some ways. And she's like, you've read everything. And I was like, no. You can find me something. So she pulled up this one for me called The Risk by S.T. Abbey, which, yes, I noticed that the author's name is Stabby, which is kind of amazing. She said this one is the novella, but it's like a prequel novella to a series that all of the books are out. And I told her, I was like, that's perfectly fine because I have a lot of books on this TBR, as y'all can see. And if I end up liking it, then I can read more in the series. But she said she just read it and she really liked it. I don't even know what this one is about. I didn't really look it up besides this cover, which she was like, what do you think about this? And I was like, done. I'll do it. So thank you, Jessica, for this recommendation. I'm very excited to try it. You were very sweet. You got back to me right away. Thank you so much. All right. So then the other ones that I pulled author you've never read before. And I love this prompt because I do try to focus on historical romances for these prompts. Of course, when someone gives me a recommendation, I pick whatever they want. But this is to help me get through my physical TBR of historical romances is kind of the goal. So for this one, I obviously have tons of authors that I've never read before. And one that I've been waiting for a reason to put on a TBR is Miranda Neville, who I found at a used bookstore because just how beautiful she is. So this one is by Miranda Neville, and it's called The Dangerous Viscount. And I just love the color scheme and how it looks. And this is what it says in the back. It says, Lady Diana Fanshaw's impeccable bloodline doesn't stop society from laughing at the antics of her eccentric family. She knows a proper marriage is her one chance to make her way in the world, which is precisely why she will marry Lord Blakeney, though she's certain she'll never love him. But then she's kissed by the brilliant and unconventional Sebastian. Ooh, I love a hero named Sebastian. Viscount Averie, and her well-laid plans tumble into disarray. Sebastian wants absolutely nothing to do with love or marriage, but when he arrives at his hated cousin's Blakeney house party, Sebastian is smitten by the tantalizing Diana, but Diana is the marrying kind, and Sebastian has no wish to risk his freedom, though the passion between them is hard to resist. Should the lady follow her heart in an attempt to win Averie's, though it seems hardened against her, or should she sacrifice her love for respectability? I really want to try that. I love the cover. I own a couple other ones by her too, and they just have such beautiful covers. And I think this one is one of her, like, this was from 2010. So definitely excited to try her. Then I pulled Read a Book on Your Wish List. So this was actually perfect because I recently just bought a couple books off of my Amazon wish list. That prompt kind of exists to like give me an excuse to like buy one of the books on my wish list, but I happen to have just bought one, and it's a historical romance. And it is The Highwaymen's Folly by Daria Vernon. I just bought this recently. So this is what this one says. A life tinged by ruin. Beth Clark has earned for herself perhaps the most dubious distinction in England, that of being kidnapped twice in one night. 30 years old and burdened with new responsibilities, her life is a far cry from the rebellion of her youth. Worse, a greedy land agent has designs on her new fortune. When his attempt to abduct her is waylaid by a band of highwaymen, the thieves' mysterious captain offers Beth a strange salvation, perhaps not only from a cold night, but from a cold past as well. A past marred by mutiny. Reese Booker. Okay, his name is Reese. Are we not sold already? I think so. Reese Booker was born to a different name, one that he no longer deserves. Cruel turns of fate have brought him here to a life outside the law, a life that felt like the only possibility before she came into it. With a robbery gone sideways, he can't simply leave this woman to freeze on the high roads, but with a crew of hungry men depending on him, he can't let her go either. Far from the danger of the forest and reunited under the gaze of those who rejected them, can their passion ever survive? So this is a self-published. I know this is the first in a series. The next one is The Rogue's Last Letter, but I really want to try this, and this is the perfect prompt to do that. Then I pulled one of my favorites, read a Lisa Kleypas. I love that that prompt exists because I've been able to read a Lisa Kleypas every month, and I'm very excited to read one in June. And so this is a time to read one of the older ones that I have, and I decided to pick Where Dreams Begin, which has the flower decal, and then it has this one. This is a more fragile one for me, so I try to be careful. This one is Zachary Bronson has built an empire of wealth and power. Now he needed a wife to help secure his position in society and warm his bed in private. But not just any woman will do for a man who all of London knows is not a gentleman. Then he unexpectedly swept Lady Holly Taylor into his arms for an unasked for and very alluring kiss. And suddenly he knew he had found a woman whose fierce passions matched his own. Lady Holly Taylor was beautiful, generous, and as a widow, destined to spend her life playing by society's rules, even when they went against her bolder instincts. But Zachary's kiss had aroused her, and though the shocking offer he made didn't include marriage, she was compelled to risk everything and follow him to the place where dreams begin. I believe this is part of a duet that is, I can't remember what it's called, but this one's from the year 2000, and I'm definitely excited to read it. I have 2 Lisa Kleypas still on my May TBR that I plan to get to. And then the last prompt from mine was read a friends to lovers romance. And I believe that this book is a friends to lovers from what I'm getting from the back and I think what my friends have said. So I have Scoundrel of My Heart by Lorraine Heath. I know my friend Crystal loved this book, and so I love Lorraine Heath already, and I really want to give this one a go. So this is what this one says, and I believe it's friends to lovers. If you've read it, let me know, but I'm putting it on my TBR anyway, and if I'm wrong, then I was wrong, and it's okay. This one is, Lady Catherine Lambert must marry a titled gentleman to claim her inheritance and has finally gained the attention of a duke. Yet she is unable to forget the scandalous second son who aided in her achievement or his betrayal. Lord Griffin Stanwyck is tormented by the bitter truth that as a spare, he will never be able to give Catherine what she yearns to possess. But when his father is found guilty of treason, Griff detours into the dark and dangerous corners of London, haunted by memories of the woman lost to him forever. As the Duke's courtship intensifies, Catherine discovered Griff has become a man to be reckoned with. When old passions flare and new desires ignite, she must decide if sacrificing her legacy is worth a lifetime shared with the scoundrel of her heart. So I think that maybe it's a second chance. So I don't know if they were friends when they had the first, but they at least like knew each other then. So we'll see. But there we go. And then the one book that I have that is an other is I want to continue reading the O'Malley series by Kitty Robert. I still have 3 books left in this series, and I just want to get it finished because I know she's going to be working on, it's going to be a while, but she's working on the 2nd generation of them, and I want to finish it. So this one is Forbidden Promises. This one is about Sloane O'Malley, who I think is the last daughter, and then Jude McNamara. So I'm going to try this one. So there we go. Those are all the books that I plan to try to read in June. Plus, you know, I'll read a ton more than that. But let me know which ones you're excited for. Make sure you join my Discord if you want to do the buddy read for Unveiled. And yeah, I'm super excited. Which new releases are you excited for? It's going to be awesome. So thank you so much for watching this video. I put up new videos 3 to 4 times a week, and you can watch some more of them right now. Bye.